Hello and welcome, fellow bookworms. Welcome to this week's episode of The Content and Narrative. We will be looking at The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. Now, this unsettled me. This was a very unsettling book. It was based off of a true story, and it essentially follows Dave, and he is starting to see these things happening next door. So these two girls, a teenager and a younger sister, lose their parents in a crash and end up moving in with their aunt and their cousins. And the aunt and the cousins just go a little bit crazy. They start denying food. They start burning her with cigarettes. They move on to the point where they won't even let her out the house, because at one point she tries to talk to the cops and the aunt's like, absolutely, I can't believe you spoke to the cops. Blah, blah, blah. Locks her in a basement. A lot of things happen to this poor girl. It doesn't even go down the sexual assault route until right near the end. And even do you know what I mean? It was a very, I really felt for her, and I didn't even want to look up the real story because I genuinely was so heartbroken reading this one that I didn't even want to look at the real life kind of contemporaries behind it. Now, the reason I couldn't put it down and the reason I'm reviewing it is because it's a very interesting take, because it doesn't focus on the girl as such. It focuses on Dave. And it focuses on the fact that he's an outsider as such. Like, he's not part of this family. He's part of the group of boys. So he's sort of like an outsider, and he's kind of seeing that. And he liked the girl when she kind of first moved in, and, they got chatting and everything. But it's interesting to see how he kind of decides when enough is enough. And it's kind of like his morality, where he's like, he's a kid. And if the adults are doing it, and if the aunt, if the aunt's aware and the aunt's doing it, then why should he intervene? He shouldn't have to intervene. But he's sort of like at every step of the way. And it is a very interesting take, because I do feel like sometimes when you see these things happen, you do wonder, how can people be so evil? Is it up to the children? Is it up to the adults? Like, at what point do you get that moral compass? And I do think that was an interesting take on it. Now, I gave it a 3 out of 5, only because it was, for me, I didn't feel comfortable at parts, and I genuinely did feel like, I can't believe this is happening, and the ending broke my heart, and I just felt like I was just sat there going, oh my god, like, I can't believe all of this, and this is how it ends. And I also was like a bit annoyed at like the adults around this poor girl, and the cops that weren't taking her seriously, and like, do you know what I mean? It was all these things that I was, and I suppose it should elicit anger, so but for me, it's one of those that, like, I would say read, because it's an interesting take, but you've got to be in the headspace for it. If you're not in the headspace for it, this book will not go in properly, and you will be left feeling a little bit worse for wear. But it is one that sort of like, I think because of the anger, because of the upset, because of like all the other bits and pieces around it, that's why I got a 3 out of 5 from me, not anything higher. But of course, if you agree or disagree with anything that I've said, leave it below in the comments. I will leave a link to the book underneath for you to be able to purchase it, or support your local libraries if you'd like as well, because they definitely could do with the support. One of my friends down in London, Carisha, she works for the library, and she's always coming up with new ideas, doing like dates with a book and stuff like that. So it'd be really, really good if you could start supporting these libraries, go in, because they're not just spaces to borrow books, they do a lot more as well, and we don't want them to die off, especially if you're an avid reader like myself. So but yeah, so Kindle, paperback, hardback, library, whatever. But thank you so much for your continued support, and let me know what you think of the books in the comment. And remember to always keep it contento.